Wood, already touched by fire, is not hard to set alight. Ancient history in Africa goes back farther than anywhere else in the world, but there are some standing stone sites that are simply breathtaking in terms of their size, date, and implications. Today, we will visit 4 captivating little-known megalithic sites that show what Africans were doing back in ancient times. And one of them is so old that it provides clear evidence of this immense pre-Egyptian African civilization that we covered in our last video. African Stonehenge. The Senegambian stone circles, also called the Wasu stone circles, are circles found in West Africa in Gambia and Senegal, are the largest stone circle collection in the world. They span over an area of 30,000 square kilometers or 12,000 square miles. Laid out for 350 kilometers along the Gambia River, the site is so large that it covers the distance between LA and Vegas. It is so widespread that it had to be divided into 4 regions. These stone circles are as old as their British counterpart in Stonehenge. However, the stones in Wasu, Senegambia, are made of more than 1,000 different stone circles, because their construction spans over centuries. It is difficult to know if they are astronomically aligned. The creation of these stone memorials lends proof to a thriving and orderly society, given the degree of toil needed to construct such edifices. The stones were quarried from laterite pits with the use of iron instruments, although a scant few of these pits can be directly connected to specific sites. Upon the extraction of the stone, uniform pillars were crafted. Often cylindrical or polygonal, they average 2 meters in height and weigh a hefty 7 tons. The architects of these grand megaliths remain a mystery. Perhaps they were the forebears of the Jola folk or the Wolof. Yet others reckon that the Sahara people may be the builders. This supposition arises from the observation that the Sahara continue to employ funeral homes similar to those discovered at Wanar. Many of the circles were later repurposed as burial sites for much later civilizations. But these mysterious stones speak of the sophistication of early African civilizations. It is a shame that this site is not more widely known. The mystery, beauty of the work in the most feeric of landscape deserves far more attention than it presently receives. "1,000 kilometers north, along the Atlantic coast of West Africa, we find yet another incredible set of megalithic structures dating back to the end of the Holocene. Contrary to widely held beliefs, the Sahara was a green and wet savanna 7,000 years ago. It was inhabited by the precursors to the Nubio-Kemetic civilization. They were the first people to perform mummification. You can see this in our previous episode on the desert mummy, how African populations from the Sahara set the foundation for what was to become Kemet, ancient Egypt, before they migrated east. The people who inhabited the Sahara left a very rich trail of archaeological sites, some of which resemble the ziggurat of Mesopotamia, but at a much earlier date. The Tifariti region was once a natural basin, and as a water source in a region that was becoming increasingly dry, it would surely have attracted migrants thousands of years ago, hailing from present-day Morocco, Libya, and Algeria to the north, and what is now Mauritania and Mali to the south. One of our theories is that as the Sahara Desert became drier during the Middle Holocene period, around 5,000 to 6,000 years ago, this area served as a refuge where water was still available, explains Dr. Clark, an expert in Sahara archaeology. And where there was likely to be water, there were people. The diverse array of monuments discovered by archaeologists reflects the various places from which these people migrated. The largest structures resemble ziggurat-like burial mounds known as bazinas. Clark describes them as resembling wedding cakes, towering up to 20 or 30 feet in height and measuring 60 feet in diameter, all constructed to accommodate the grave of a single individual. Similar structures were found further south in Zug, but the smaller bazinas in the Tifariti region share the same architectural style, believed to have originated from the central Sahara. Not all monuments possess such grandeur on their own. but they were assembled in relation to the surrounding landscape features or in proximity to one another. For instance, there is a cluster of 65 standing stones, none taller than thigh-high, encircled by hills containing burial monuments, from which the stones can be seen. This is a notoriously dangerous area of Africa, so archaeological digs are few and far between. I strongly encourage the book Archaeology of the Western Sahara, which goes deeper into the history of these fascinating stone structures. As the Sahara was drying up, there was a sizable migration of ancient people towards the east, where the Nile flows. That's where we can find Nabta Playa. Nabta Playa, predating Stonehenge by a grand stretch of years, can be found nearly 500 miles to the south of Cairo, Egypt's capital, roughly 60 miles west of Abu Simbel, and a short 18 miles north of the border between Egypt and Sudan. This significant inland drainage basin was sporadically called home by nomadic tribes throughout history. Though nowadays engulfed by dunes, Nabta Playa was a land suitable for habitation around 10,000 BC. A northward shift of the monsoon downpours brought ample rainfall to the area, letting plant life, wildlife, and human communities flourish for a time. From 9000 BC to 2800 BC, humans lived in the area until the land returned to its former state of extreme aridity, compelling them to seek greener pastures. The zenith of the Neolithic culture in this place is believed to have occurred between 7,000 to 6,500 years ago. The remarkable Nabta Playa is known for its observatory and two primary burial sites, colloquially referred to as tumuli. Interestingly, the site was stumbled upon by accident in 1974 by a group journeying to the Nile Valley from Libya. Excavations have uncovered an array of pottery fragments and signs of well-ordered settlements, including the existence of wells. The hefty stones composing the circle were sourced from at least half a kilometer away. Researchers have inferred that a few of the vertical slabs were positioned in alignment with certain celestial bodies. These include Alpha Centauri, Sirius, Arcturus, Dubhe from Ursa Major, and the stars of Orion's belt. Intriguingly, the site happens to be situated on the Tropic of Cancer. The 24 megaliths were also set up to align with the true north-south, which differs by a slight degree from the magnetic north-south that many are accustomed to. Additionally, there exists a sequence of small complexes, each uniquely installed atop table rocks, an enigma that continues to puzzle scientists today. Since the site was located by the edge of a lake, some scholars conjecture that it might have been employed to predict possible floods, as parts of the complex would be submerged under such circumstances. The ultimate fate of the inhabitants who once resided here remains an unsolved mystery. However, some researchers have suggested that the nomadic folks who had set up camp here played a pivotal role in sparking the dawn of ancient Egyptian civilization. This hypothesis is supported by the timeline of events, the rise of the ancient Egyptian civilization closely following the departure of these nomads from Nabta Playa, and the shared cultural reverence for cattle, a tradition not previously seen in ancient Egyptian societies. Originally thought to be the oldest astronomical calendar in the world, Nabta Playa sits some 60 miles away from the Nile, in the Sahara Desert. It was dated to be 7,000 years old. It was discovered in the 1970s by chance by a group of wandering archaeologists. Its significance cannot be understated as the positioning of the stones point to landmark celestial bodies. It is yet another formation that is often called the African Stonehenge. I am sure by now you have begun to see the pattern. There were celestial megalithic sites all over Africa. Archaeologists suspect that Nabta Playa belonged to a nomadic tribe that later sedentarized and participated in the creation of the Nubio-Kemetic civilization complex. It is very possible that these are the same sets of Africans who migrated from southern Libya and who were adept in mummification and cattle worship. Evidence of cattle worship has been found all over the Nabta Playa site. Along with the remains found on the site, Nabta Playa further confirms the Black Genesis theory, which states that Kemet was seeded from the interior of the continent. But as old as Nabta Playa is, there is an even older site, deeper south in the continent, one that is so old that it existed when Neanderthal was still around. In what might be the earliest endeavors of mankind, Adam's calendar continues to amaze archaeologists since its discovery. A revelation in the southern territories of Africa harkens back to a staggering 75,000 years ago, when the inhabitants of these regions are believed to have crafted the world's first stone clock. In more recent years, this intriguing artifact has come to be known as Adam's calendar. Situated in the province of Mpumalanga, in the eastern part of the Republic of South Africa, this Stonehenge of the Dark Continent may very well be the oldest human-made creation on Earth, predating any known historical monuments. South Africa harbors some of the most profound mysteries of human history. Around 60,000 years past, early humans began their exodus from this continent, branching out to settle across the globe. But who were these pioneers, and what were their accomplishments? Adam's calendar may shed light on some of these enduring questions. The unexpected discovery of Adam's calendar took place in 2003, thanks to amateur archaeologist Johann Heine, who spearheaded the largest brigade of firefighting aircraft throughout the African continent. As a pilot, he had spent more than 2 decades flying over the Mpumalanga Mountains. Back in 2003, Johann Heine was at the helm of an aircraft soaring above the scenic hills of South Africa's Mpumalanga region when calamity struck, leading to a crash on the mountainside. Escaping the wreckage, Heine found himself in the presence of a trio of monumental dolomite stones, each weighing a staggering 5 tons, jutting out of the earth, and behind these was a grand stone circle. He later returned to the site and discovered its timepiece-like arrangement. Initially, archaeological perspectives did not deem the complex as particularly noteworthy. This is often the case with noteworthy archaeological discoveries in the continent, but that is changing rapidly. Unfazed, Johann plunged into personal research and calculations. He soon realized that the stone circle was deliberately aligned with the 4 cardinal directions, accounting for the solstices throughout the year. It was not until 6 years later that official excavations commenced. Experts concluded that the complex deviated from the main cardinal points by 3 degrees, 17 minutes, and 43 seconds. This points to Adam's calendar having been erected a minimum of 25,000 years ago, as per archaeological and astronomical calculations. Further investigations into the geology, erosion patterns, and lichen growth on the rocks led scientists to estimate the complex's age at an impressive 75,000 years. Astronomer Bill Hollenbach arrived at this conclusion based on the migration patterns of tribes in southern Africa and the formation of individual rocks. However, the complex could potentially be significantly older, dating back to the emergence of Homo sapiens about 250,000 years ago, as per scientific conjectures. The stone timepiece rests on the rim of the Transvaal Cliff, composed of black quartzite abundant in gold. This profusion sparked the African gold rush in this area in the early 18th century. However, the monolithic stones of Adam's calendar are made of dolerite, and the closest source of dolerite lies a kilometer from the complex site. This suggests that its architects must have exerted considerable effort to transport the hefty blocks to this location. Moreover, each of the stones in the complex weighs up to 5 tons. Adam's calendar continues to serve as a functional calendar in modern times, as the stones are strategically positioned to track the movement of the sun. Scientific approximations posit that South Africa could be home to more than 100,000 ancient ruins. The vast majority of these sites are yet to be discovered and studied. Even Adam's calendar, discovered in 2003, remains largely unknown to the general public. Visual representations of the site are scarce, and the few that exist leave much to be desired. This megalithic stone calendar, known as Adam's calendar, is a well-guarded secret, reachable only by navigating the rugged dirt roads past the feral horses of Kapshahoop. Shaped like a circle and boasting a diameter of 100 feet, it is often referred to as the birthplace of the sun and has been tagged Africa's Stonehenge. Much like its counterparts made of stone, it bears a loose alignment with the celestial sphere. Yet another megalithic site that is called the African Stonehenge. It predates both the actual Stonehenge and the Great Pyramids of Giza by tens of thousands of years. To give a sense of how old this monument is, Neanderthal went extinct in 40,000 BC, and yet this monument predates this event by 35,000 years. The discovery of Adam's calendar in 2003 was a serendipitous event. Remarkably, it remains almost perfectly intact as a fully functional megalithic stone calendar. African shamans have bestowed upon it the name Inzalo Yalanga, meaning birthplace of the sun. Give us a like and share this video if you want us to cover more ancient sites in Africa. Join us and see how those who are said to be without history birthed civilization itself.